You should be in your props folder of your starter content. So what we're going to do is look for the rock object, sm_rock. Go ahead and click on that, right click, and we want to make a duplicate copy of that. So we'll just go ahead and stay with that name, sm_rock1. That way we don't mess up the original one. And go ahead and double click on the rock so we open up its editing window. And what we're going to be using here are the collision settings. First, let's, I want to illustrate. We'll pull the rock in here for a second here. Now if I click play and move my character, he goes right through the rock because there's no collision set up on the rock at all. Which could be a cool feature if you wanted your character to be able to go through walls or, do some paranormal type things. But for our purposes, we don't want him to go through the rock. We want that rock to be solid. So we're going to have to add some collision to it so our character will collide with it. So I'm going to go ahead and click escape on that. Let's go back to our rock and go up here to the collision setting and go ahead and check off simple collision so that we'll be able to see what we're doing here. And up here at the collision tab, there's a whole bunch of different settings here that you can use depending on the complexity and the accuracy of the collision that you need to apply to the object. So as we look at our rock object, we can see it's got a lot of chunks coming out of it. It's not just a sphere. It's not just a simple square or anything like that. Those are pretty simple to do. But if we do apply a sphere to the object, Unreal Engine is going to create this for us. And if you're already familiar with this, go ahead and skip forward in the video. But I'm going to go through this step by step because these steps are really important in order for especially cloth to react properly to static meshes, things like that. So we've got a simple sphere here, and we can use our controls up here, our move. To move that, we can rotate. We can scale, make it bigger, smaller. And it'll only scale in all directions on the sphere. If we want to get rid of this, just click your delete button. Now let's go up here to collision and add capsule simplified collision. This will get us closer to the shape of our boulder here. And this way I can scale it in all different directions. So I can make it skinnier or taller, shorter, whatever. And as we go back into our level, let's go up here to show collision. If you look really close here, you can see the collision box around the boulder. So let's click play. And our character, boom, now he doesn't go through the boulder. So we've got some nice collision attached to that. Back here. Now for most animations that you may be doing for cinematics or movies, effects, or even in gameplay, this might be fine for you, just a simplified capsule. If it's not, and there's some other settings here, go up to collision and we can remove the collision. And there's these other settings here, these add 10 DOP X simplified collision. These are, let's just take a look at them real quick. So it gives you that shape. Now, unfortunately, you can't go in here and edit the edges to make it more accurate. I'm just going to keep adding to this. And then if you want to get rid of them, just select them and press delete on your keyboard. And the most accurate one here, see how it tries to follow the shape of the boulder, and it does a pretty good job. So this is a little more accurate than the capsule. But if you really have something that you have to be super accurate, you know, maybe you're doing an extreme close-up animation and you need that cloth to drape really accurately on this boulder, then there's another way we can do this. Let's remove the collision, and I'm going to add a capsule and scale this down. And just kind of follow along with me here. I know this is kind of boring, but you need to go through these steps just so you see all the options that you have that you can do with this. So I can just resize and rotate. I'm hitting my space bar to go through the options here. I'm just going to do a few major shapes here just so you can get the idea. Click move, and let's move this all the way in. Maybe move it down like that so it adds collision to a large chunk of this boulder. Now I could make this smaller, and I could, you know, put one here, one here. The beauty of this is that you can add as many different shapes as you want to your object, and it's going to create like a cluster of collision on your object. So let's use our hotkey of Control W so we can duplicate this shape. I'm going to do on my keyboard Control W, and let's just pull this one over here. Rotate that one. We'll move it here. Move it up a little bit. And do Control W again so I can make another copy of that. Pull it here. Bring it down. Remember, you also have your views if it's easier for you to go into, you know, the top mode or, you know, the different modes here, and you can show wireframe, you can use unlit, whatever's easiest for you to use. I usually try to stay pretty much in the perspective mode. Okay, so we got this one here. Now I'm going to do another one, Control W. Bring this up to the top. Bring this toward the middle. Now let's say I wanted to scale that out a little bit, so I'll just make it a little bit wider. Turn it in this direction. I can do the same thing here. And it's okay if it overlaps your other capsules. That's perfectly fine. Click Save on your object. Now when we go back in here to our level, you can see that we've got all of our different capsules here. And it needs some adjustment. See, this is too far out here, so I'll bring that in. But you get the idea of the preciseness you can do by just adding multiple capsule objects or squares or spheres or whatever you want to do. And then we go back into our level. Let's test it out. We'll hit play. Bam. So our character, he just runs right into it. Jumps over, trying to get him to jump over it. Okay, so we've got collision working really well on this boulder. Now I want to test something else out. I want to, because I can't test it on the game character itself. So I have Sevarog over here, another one in the scene. So I want to go over here and I just want to change it from the game mode to the simulate mode. We'll ignore the game player here and go ahead and grab your Sevarog character. And what I want to do is I want to position him to where his cloth is draping over the boulder. See, like this. We'll click on the sky so we can see it a little bit better. Now here's what I was talking about before. If you were doing a close-up animation or a cinematic and you really needed some good detail here, you're going to need to spend some time adding these smaller spheres and closely follow the mesh here. That way your cloth will, follow the outline of the boulder super accurately. It's going through the the boulder here because I've just got these big general shapes, but you get the idea. So you have total control over that. And this is how we would use the collision settings on a rock or a boulder or something that's kind of irregular. Now in the next video we're going to do a similar thing, but we're going to use a chair, and we're going to set up the chair to where it works for our collision and our the cloth on the character.